Here at BestColleges, we had a chance to sit down with Lauren, a busy ER nurse, to learn how she's evolving her career through online education.
My name is Lauren Braaten, and I am currently getting my doctorate as an acute care nurse practitioner through Braaten University. On top of it, I'm also an emergency room nurse.
What motivated your decision to go back to school?
So I did my undergrad degree at the University of Portland for nursing. I kind of always had in the back of my mind that I maybe wanted to go further, but at that time I didn't really know anything about healthcare. I don't have anybody in my family in healthcare. I didn't know what I was doing, so I just kind of went with the nursing route. Once I graduated, I was like, should I keep going? And then I was like, you don't know anything about healthcare. Like, you should get into the career first. This isn't a secret, but there's a big burnout for nurses. I was a 30-year-old with back pain, and I was like, okay, I can't work for the next 30 years like this. Like, I need to maybe do something else. And so I decided to finally go back and get my degree.
So Lauren, how did you find your online program? And what factors were important to you when making your decision?
I found my online program online. My biggest piece of advice, know exactly what you want to get from your degree. Know exactly what you hope to gain by getting this degree. I personally know that I do not want to be in an office. No offense to anybody that loves it. I am an ER junkie, so I need the adrenaline. So I knew I wanted to be adult acute care is what they call it. Before I even started my search, I had to really figure out what I wanted my life to look like. What is this degree going to get me? Where do I want to end up in the next 10 years? What programs are going to offer that for me? So the first thing I did was I did a big online search for acute care nurse practitioner. I made a nice little list of all the schools that kind of offered the program, and then I went from there. Once I had my little list compiled, I think I was excited to get back into school, so I had like everything just all laid out. And then I called all the schools that I thought could potentially get me where I wanted to go and kind of got some information from them. I'm a little jaded. I applied to the nursing program there and they rejected me. So it was like, I'm coming back for you. The program that I chose, again, it kind of had the specialty that I really wanted. It got me exactly where I was going to go. It's accredited. I think that's kind of another really big thing with online programs. The second you put in an online program, you're going to find 1 million results. There's a ton of schools, and so it was finding a program that had exactly what I wanted, was going to get me where I was going to go, and then most importantly was accredited and was going to be recognized.
What were some of your biggest fears when you started your program?
I had several fears starting. My first fear was that I was going to fail. I had gone to, my entire life I was in like a classroom setting, and I had a teacher and students and was being held accountable. So I was really nervous that kind of changing the scenario and doing everything from my living room was not going to work, and that really scared me. That I had all these dreams and aspirations and knew what I wanted to do, and then once I got into it, that halfway through they were going to be like, oh yeah, you failed. So that was really scary. It's a whole different learning technique, so it's really hard to kind of delve into the unknown, if you will. And then I was also really nervous that I was going to lose my social life. I am a very social butterfly. I work and I love my work, but then when I'm not working, I like to hang out and hike and go grab a beer and kind of do all these things. And I was really nervous that, going back to school was going to really impede that and kind of not change who I was, but kind of take away a lot of the things that are really important to me. So I was really nervous about kind of losing that freedom. I was also really nervous about learning in my living room. It's weird because you go online and there's a ton of lectures and you listen to the lectures and you take your notes and they give you everything to succeed. They don't want you to fail. But all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't understand what she said there, or that doesn't make any sense. I can't just raise my hand and be like, hey, what do you mean? It was kind of multifaceted. It was I was gonna fail at this because it's not what I'm used to as far as like learning styles, and then B, just losing my social life.
What were some of the steps you took to alleviate those fears?
The biggest thing has been support. I have got an amazing family who supports me. I've got amazing friends, a fiance, 3 Fs. And they have really been my rock through this whole thing. You need to have people who believe in you as much as you believe in you. And I think that's really important. You need to have people that know your goals and they're going to support you, so that when you do have a bad day, they're not like, well, just quit the program. You need someone who's going to let you cry, let you get out your frustrations, but then still be there to be like, no, you've got this. Like, today's just a bad day, we're going to get through, and really support you. I'm very open with my work, so my manager knows exactly what I'm doing, and she's kind of there helping me every step of the way. If I have a test and I'm supposed to be at work, she's kind of she's there to really help ease me through this busy time in my life. So having the support and having people there that are going to help you get to your end goal. But just really knowing who I am and knowing what I need, you really have to know yourself, I think, before you kind of delve into this, because it is hard and it's not traditional. But knowing the breaks I need, or knowing my breaking point, or knowing what I need to kind of give me that mental stability when things get hard, I think is really important as well.
What's it like balancing work, school, and family life?
If you asked me 2 days ago, I would have cried. It is hard. It is not an easy task. There are moments where you just feel so overwhelmed and there's so much going on, and I know I have to get to the ER and work a 12-hour shift, and then I also know that I've got a paper due tomorrow, and then I've got studying to do after that, and then Joe Schmo wants to go boating on Saturday. It's just, there's always something, and it kind of all compiles, and so there's definitely moments where it's really overwhelming. The best thing that I've been able to do for myself, though, is kind of find that balance. I have found out so much about myself and about what I need to be happy. And so when I do kind of hit a moment where it's just too much, I need to figure out, how am I going to bring myself back? What am I going to be able to do to make myself happy? It is all a balance. I'll go and I'll study for a couple hours, and then I'm not going to be scared to go grab a beer with friends, just because I think in order to do this, you still need to be mentally stable. So it's a lot of balancing, and it's not easy, but I think before I got into it, I really knew what's important in my life. And sometimes you have to make hard decisions. When I first started the program, I was full-time in school. I said earlier, I'm doing it part-time now, because about a year through, I lost it. And I was like, I have too much on my plate. This isn't gonna work, because I know I'm gonna stress myself out, and my mental health is more important than this degree. And so I actually kind of sat there and I weighed the options with my fiance, and I was like, okay, so I'm working full-time, I'm in school full-time, and I like to say that I'm having fun full-time. And that's too much full-time. Nobody can do 3 full-time jobs. You can't work full-time and do school full-time, because you'll burn yourself out. So it's kind of finding that balance and kind of figuring out how I'm gonna be able to, be happy and still do the things I love while working, while advancing my career.
Lauren, why did you select online education over an on-campus experience for this degree?
When I graduated from high school, my parents were awesome. They were like, we're gonna pay for your first degree, go wherever you need to go, you do you. I was 18 years old, and I was on campus and having the time of my life. However, this time, I'm now 30 years old, I have an apartment that requires rent. I have a dog that eats only the finest food. I've got a car, I need to pay insurance, I've got utilities. I have a life that I need to still uphold, and I can't just get rid of that responsibility. So I really needed an option that allowed me to work full-time. I needed to maintain my life that I was living and advance myself at the same time, and that's just kind of what I've had to do to get the degree. I don't think that I would have been able to manage my work schedule and going to class and driving all over it just would have been too much, and I knew that that was going to stress me out even more, and so it was just an option for me to kind of still take care of all the responsibilities I still have while being able to advance myself.
How is learning online different from your previous campus experience?
It's very comfortable. I'm allowed to be in my sweats. I don't wear makeup. I can have a beer if I want to do it. But it's hard. With all the joys of doing homework in my sweatpants and with a beer, there's also the TV in the background, or my dog that's sitting at the door and wants to go on a walk. There's so many distractions, and so it's really difficult to sit down and actually do my work sometimes. It's hard. It is difficult. You don't have a teacher there, so if you don't understand something, I can't just be like, teach, what does that mean? Or have them explain something further, or if they kind of just quickly brush over a topic that you think is going to be important, you can't ask them to elaborate, or if you have a question about a project that you have to, the list goes on and on. There's so many different things that you don't have a teacher readily available. I've got amazing teachers, and they respond to my emails within 24 or 48 hours, and they want me to succeed. They don't want to see me fail. They want to be there. They're just not readily available. Luckily though, so I've got amazing professors, and we live in such a great time where I'm able to kind of go on Google and find the answers for myself, which is really nice. It's not impossible. It takes a little bit more diving into, but there's definitely pros and cons to that. I didn't get my answer right away, but sometimes when I go through and delve and try to teach it to myself, you do learn a little bit more. The hardest part is just not having somebody readily there to ask, to answer all of your questions. Or to explain something when things don't make sense. They give you the syllabus, but you need to read it and make sure all your assignments are in on time and really make sure that you're holding yourself accountable. And then at the same time, I kind of shot myself in the foot a couple times because I'd be like, oh, I don't have a quiz for another month or a test or whatever. And then that test would show up and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to listen to 3 hours of lecture every week before this test. You have to make sure that you put in the time and you have to put in the effort and make sure that you don't get distracted. It's different.
Were there any tools or strategies you used to help make online learning easier?
So when my fiance and I decided to move in together, we stopped looking at one-bedroom apartments just because I was like, I need a dedicated space for my learning. I kind of got to a point where I was like, I really need to make a space that's mine, and I need to not be distracted by the TV or not see that it's nice outside. I want to go on a walk. I really needed a place that was dedicated to my learning, just creating that workspace so that I could get in the right frame of mind. All the online resources are absolutely amazing. There's so many out there, and so I kind of have subscribed to different journal archives, or there's a lot of medical resources, so I've kind of been able to use a lot of those. And then through the program, they actually kind of set everybody up to where you do have a discussion board that's just your students. So if you don't get something, or if you're really frustrated about something, you kind of do have that support.
Lauren, what's one thing you wish you would have known before starting your online program?
I wish I knew how hard it would be. I think my biggest thing going into it was that I wasn't ready for it. I had been in a classroom setting my entire life, and that's kind of the learning style that I had. I wasn't fully prepared for an online setting. It's just a completely different learning environment, and I don't think that I was personally ready for it. I think when you decide to go back to school, you think it's going to be not easy, but you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to school, this is awesome. And then it starts and you're like, oh. And so I wish that I would have been more prepared for what I was getting into. And I don't think you really can prepare yourself fully. I think it's kind of one of those things that you're not going to learn exactly what it's like until you're in the program and things kind of get started. I wish that I kind of came up with maybe a more concrete way in the beginning to get everything organized and get everything ready so that when I did start listening to lectures and did kind of have to move into an online setting, that I was more mentally ready. I think that was the hardest part. Once I kind of figured out that online not teach yourself, but online learning, it went a lot better.
What advice would you give to someone considering an online education?
Two different things. First, know your learning style. You have to make sure that this is a program that's going to work for you, that you are going to succeed, that you are going to be able to do the program. Some people can't learn in an online setting, and that's okay, but you just need to know that before you get into it, because the last thing you want to do is fail, because that's deflating and it's going to make you feel terrible about trying to get an education, and that should never happen. So know your learning style, know if it's going to work for you. You really have to be confident in you as a person before you dive into a completely different learning environment. You have to know that this is going to work for you. You have to be somebody who, when push comes to shove, you're going to hold yourself accountable and you know that you're going to do the work. It took a little bit to get that out of me, but it did come out. I knew that this is something that I wanted, and I was able to kind of move past some of the struggles and really focus on school when I needed to. But some people can't learn that way. So you have to know your learning styles. You have to know that you are going to be successful, because the last thing you want to do is get into it and fail. So just know yourself, know your learning styles, know that this is something that you can do and that you are going to succeed at. You will drive yourself insane if all you do is work and do school. And so it's really figuring out what breaks you need, or how to cope when you're really stressed out, or kind of figuring out how to manage everything, because you have to have a break. So it's just really knowing yourself and know how to fix yourself when you're down, and take those breaks and really balance everything out, and then at the same time make sure that it's something that's going to work for you, because you don't want to fail. Your teachers don't want you to fail. You want to succeed. And then my other biggest piece of advice would be have those people that you can go to that are going to support you, that are going to be the rock when you have a bad day, that are going to kind of lift you up when you need it, and then know what you need to do to keep yourself sane. You need to know your releases. You need to know what's going to make you feel better when you're down, or how are you going to deal with the stress, or what's something that can kind of get my mind off it or put my mind at ease. Or knowing yourself, I think, is one of the biggest things, and just having those people that you can go to and lean on, because it's online program, and while you think you're learning everything by yourself in the living room, you're not. It still takes a village.
From all of us at Best Colleges, thank you so much, Lauren, for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your experiences with us today. We can't wait to hear how your program turns out.